The mating auction was where you went when no one wanted you. And as Claire stood among the desperate women who had been passed over or discarded, unlike the others, she didn't try to be seen. A heavy hood concealed her face completely, shadowing the truth she could never reveal. So the crowd whispered, what could be so terrible that even here, among the unwanted, she had to hide? They weren't wrong to wonder. Beneath the fabric lay her shame, her curse. The secret that had destroyed her life and taught Claire to brace herself for rejection. She would not be chosen if she concealed her face. She would not be chosen if she exposed it. Then the Alpha King arrived. Elion, beautiful, powerful, cold as winter itself, walked past princesses and noblewomen without a glance, and stopped directly in front of Claire. "I'll take her," he said. The hall erupted in shock. Why would a king who could have anyone choose the one woman hiding her face? Claire didn't understand either. Not until he made his terms clear. He would marry her, protect her, give her everything she needed. He would even swear never to look beneath her hood. But only under one condition. He would never love her. Neither of them understood how impossible that vow would be. Chapter 1. The women had been arranged in a line on the raised platform like wares at a market. For tonight, the Great Hall of Artoria held no coronation or treaty. It held a mating auction. This was where unmated wolves came when all other options had expired. When they were too old for a first marriage, too scarred by life or circumstance to find a proper mate. Wolves couldn't exist in a pack unmated. That would disturb the hierarchy their kind needed. Hence the auctions. The men who came here were not seeking wives in the traditional sense. They sought second or third wives to tend homes, mistresses, and nursemaids. But none sought love. The crowd that had gathered was smaller than in previous years, the interested parties fewer. The auctioneer's voice droned on, listing bloodlines and basic qualities with all the enthusiasm of a man selling livestock he knew to be lame. One woman wept silently, tears tracking through carefully applied pads. She was a woman of great value. She was a woman of great value. She had a powder on her aging face. She'd been beautiful once. You could still see it in the bones of her. But time and 3 failed betrothals had brought her here. Another stood with her chin high, defiant despite the scar that ran from temple to jaw. A third stared at nothing, her expression blank, her hands curved protectively over her belly. Pregnant and abandoned, most likely. The last figure in the line drew the most attention, however. The attention of whispers and sidelong glances rather than open stares. She stood apart from the others, shrouded completely in a hooded cloak of dark, heavy fabric. Not even her hands were visible. The hood hung low over her face, revealing nothing. She might have been beautiful. She might have been monstrous. And that, perhaps, told the crowd everything they needed to know. "What's wrong with that one?" a merchant muttered to his companion. The whispers rippled through the hall like wind through grass. What could be so wrong that even her face must be hidden? Beneath the hood, Claire felt every eye like a physical touch. This was it. The end of everything. If she wasn't chosen today. If no one was desperate or foolish enough to take a woman whose face they couldn't see, her father would be within his rights to sell her as a slave. He was standing near the edge of the platform with her sister Celia, pretending not to know her. Who would buy a hooded woman sight unseen, her father had said, and had been right. At best, they would demand to see beneath the hood first. And that? That would be so much worse than not being chosen at all. The auctioneer had moved on from the pregnant woman when the great doors burst open. Every conversation died mid-word, every head turned. An alpha presence rolled through the Doors like a wave, and it wasn't the ordinary dominance of a strong wolf. This was the kind of power that came from bloodlines so pure, so undiluted that they were more legend than wolf. Claire felt it even beneath her hood. The Alpha King, the auctioneer gasped. Gods above, what is he doing here? The whispers started immediately, shocked and disbelieving, rippling through the crowd. That's impossible, someone added. Why would the king come to a mating auction? Alpha King Elion of Artoria walked into the hall as if he owned it, which Claire supposed he did. He was tall. Taller than any man in the room. With blonde hair falling past his shoulders in a pale gold that looked almost silver in the torchlight. Rumors said he was so beautiful it made noble women compose terrible poetry, and princesses from distant kingdoms invent reasons to visit Artoria. But Claire thought beautiful didn't cover it. Beautiful was too soft a word for these cheekbones, these pale gray eyes, cold and clear and absolutely merciless. Several of the nobles stepped back, as if distance might protect them from whatever this was. Because this made no sense, none at all. Kings didn't come to mating auctions. Kings, especially this king, could have. Empresses could have anyone, anything. So why was he here? Elion stopped in the center of the hall, and his gaze swept over the platform. His expression revealed nothing. Continue, he said. It took the auctioneer 3 tries to find his voice. Your Majesty, we are honored by your said. Continue, the king said. Had begun walking toward the platform, the crowd parting before him. Claire felt him approaching and fought the urge to run. She heard his footsteps stop at the first woman, the one who'd been weeping. A long pause. Claire imagined him studying her, weighing her worth. The footsteps moved on. Another pause. The scarred woman, perhaps. More consideration. More dismissal. He continued down the line. And then the footsteps stopped, directly in front of her. Claire's breath caught in her throat. She kept her head bowed, staring at the stone beneath her hood. The silence stretched. No one in the hall dared to breathe. And then, cutting through it like a blade through silk, cold and final and absolutely certain, the king announced, "I'll take her." There was only silence. And only when chaos erupted did Claire realize had meant her. Chapter 2. Through the small window, she could see the castle rising in the distance. Gray stone towers piercing a pale sky. And despite everything, despite the terror coiling in her chest, she felt something unexpected. Relief. She could still smell the desperation and shame. 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 She could still smell the desperation and shame in the air of that auction hall. Her father had made it clear. No one would want what they couldn't see. And when the auction ended with no offers, he'd be legally permitted to sell Claire into proper slavery. It was meant to be her father's final revenge. But then the Alpha King had walked into that hall. And everything had changed. He chose me, she thought, still unable to make sense of it. The carriage stopped. Claire's heart hammered as a guard opened the door and offered his hand. Claire's heart hammered as a guard opened the door and offered his hand. She took it with shaking fingers, stepping down onto smooth stone. His castle loomed above her, impossibly large, impossibly grand. This is madness, she thought. Why would he choose me? She followed the guard through corridors that seemed to stretch forever, her boots silent on thick carpets. Servants bowed as she passed, their eyes curious but not cruel. No one sneered. It was so different from her father's house that she felt dizzy. They stopped before a heavy wooden door. The guard knocked twice, then pushed it open. "The king will see you now, my lady." Claire's throat went dry as she stepped inside. The room was a study. Shelves lined with books, a desk covered in maps and documents, a fire burning low in the hearth despite the summer heat. And standing by the window backlit by gray afternoon light, was the Alpha King himself, Elion. He was tall. That was Claire's first. Her first coherent thought. And when he turned to look at her, she felt the cold radiating from him like a physical force, as if winter lived in his bones. She dropped into a curtsy, her hood slipping forward. "Your Majesty." "Rise," he said. His voice matched everything else about him. Distant, controlled, empty of warmth. Claire straightened, her heart pounding so hard she was certain he could hear it. Through the fabric of her veil, she could make out was the hard line of his jaw, the coldness in his eyes as they passed over her without interest. No curiosity at all about what lay beneath her disguise. "Your Majesty," she began, her voice barely steady. "I never meant to deceive you." "Deceive me?" he asked, sounding surprised. "Yes," Claire nodded. "The veil, He raised one hand, cutting her off. "I don't need to know. The wedding will take place in 3 days. That's all you need to concern yourself with." Claire blinked. "Your Majesty, please," she implored. "Before you look, you have to understand the reason I wear it. If you'd just let me explain." "I will not be looking." The statement hung in the air between them, flat and final. "Excuse me?" Claire asked. Elion turned fully toward her, his expression unchanged. "You've hidden your face. I assume that's because it isn't pleasing to look upon." Beneath her veil, Claire grimaced. He wasn't entirely wrong, but he wasn't entirely right either. Not that she could explain that. Not without revealing everything. Which she would rather die than do. Though, lying to her king, her future husband, was death. He had to know. "Your Majesty, wait." Claire took a step forward. "Before we marry, you should know the truth about me. About why he paused at the door, didn't turn to look at her. "You will be my wife," he said quietly. "But other than that, I have no interest in seeing you. Ever." Claire stood frozen, trying to process what had just said. No interest in seeing her. Not just now. Ever. "Your Majesty," she managed. "Even if you never wish to see me, others will. People will talk. They'll let you know what I look like. I would prefer you hear it from me. Before the ceremony. Before you feel betrayed." Betrayed, she didn't say. Elion finally turned, and for the first time, his eyes focused on her fully. Cold eyes. Gray as winter frost. "If you would prefer that no one ever sees you," he said slowly, "then it shall be so." Claire gaped at him. "What? You are to be queen. You will receive jewels and palaces and titles. And land? Receiving veils and a staff which ensures you are never looked upon directly. On top of that, is no hassle, I assure you." She couldn't speak. This was too good to be true. It had to be. Why would he choose her? Why would he allow her to keep hidden? He could have married a beautiful princess, pleasing to look upon. Someone he knew. Someone with a bigger dowry. If that is all, Elion said, already pulling the door open. "I'll see you at the cathedral." And then he was gone. Claire stood alone in the study. She should refuse. That was the logical choice. Go back to her father. Accept her punishment. Face whatever fate awaited her there. Because this strange offer from a cold king who wanted a wife he'd never look at felt like a trap. But then she remembered the look in her father's eyes the last time she'd seen him. Pure hatred. The kind of loathing that had burned there for years. The labor of his wife's affair, had called her a stain on his family's name. He would have sold her into slavery with a smile. The Alpha King had looked at her with nothing. No hatred. No disgust. Not even disdain. Just cold indifference. And had offered her something she'd never dared hope for. Permission to stay hidden. Claire touched the fabric at her throat, feeling the weight of the hood against her shoulders. Cold over cruelty, she thought. I'll choose cold over cruelty every time. Chapter 3. The next morning, Claire was summoned to the king's council chamber. She'd barely slept. The room they'd given her was larger than any space she'd ever occupied. A suite of chambers with a canopied bed. And a team of blind servants had arrived within hours of her request, just as the king had promised. They'd bathed her gently, dressed her in silk, and put her in a bed. She'd been in bed for a long time. She'd been dressed in soft fabrics. Brought her food she was too nervous to eat. No one had been gentle with Claire in a very long time. So now, walking through the castle corridors with a guard as escort, Claire tried to steady her breathing. This meeting, the wedding contract negotiations, needed to go well. But her father would be there, and the thought made her stomach turn. "Lady Claire, Your Majesty," a guard announced as Claire stepped inside. The council chamber was even bigger than she'd expected. A long table dominated the space, windows behind it letting in cold morning light. The Alpha King sat at the head of the table, with two advisors flanking him. He was beautiful in the way winter was beautiful, harsh and unforgiving and impossible to look away from. And at the far end of the table, barely looking at her, sat her father. "Please sit," Elion gestured to a chair near him. One of the advisors cleared his throat. "Your Majesty, the marriage contract has been prepared. According to your specifications," they said. "If you'd like to review, I'll summarize," Elion interrupted. He picked up a document, scanned it briefly, then set it down. "The terms are straightforward," Elion declared, looking at Claire, or at the veil where her face should be. "Of first and most important, I will never look upon you," he said. "Neither I nor anyone in my household, my court, or my kingdom will be permitted to see your face." Claire's breath caught. "Is this agreeable to you?" Elion asked. Before Claire could answer, her father surged forward in his seat. "Your Majesty, I must protest. You don't understand what you're agreeing to. If you knew what was beneath that veil, I wasn't talking to you," Elion said calmly. "I was talking to my future queen." Claire stared at the king, something warm and unfamiliar blooming in her chest. "My future queen," he said. "Is this agreeable to you?" He repeated. "Yes," Claire said. Quietly. "It's more than agreeable, Your Majesty. Thank you for your kindness." One of the advisors shifted uncomfortably. Elion tilted his head slightly, and for the first time, she saw something other than cold indifference in his expression. "Kindness?" he asked, confused. "Yes." Claire's voice was steadier now. "You've honored my request to remain veiled. The servants you sent, the blind maids, they've been gentle and respectful." She steadied her breathing before she concluded simply. "That was very kind of you." Elion looked at her for a long moment, then he shook his head slightly and returned his attention to the contract. "The other conditions are as follows," he said, his tone once again purely factual. "You will give me an heir, preferably more than one, to secure the succession. But other than that, we will not share a life. We will not share a room. We will not dine together or spend time together. You will attend certain royal functions with me. Perhaps 3 or 4 times a year, to maintain appearances before the court and visiting dignitaries. That is all. He paused, then added with the same measured precision, the marriage will be contractual only. You will live comfortably. You will want for nothing. But I want nothing to do with you beyond what is necessary to produce children. Claire could feel the advisors watching her, waiting for her reaction. Her father had gone very still, his eyes fixed on her as if expecting her to break, to weep, to refuse. Even Elion seemed to be bracing for something, his jaw set in a way that emphasized the strong line of it. But Claire didn't flinch. His scent was calm, controlled. There was no malice in it, no desire to humiliate, no cruelty. He was simply still. He was stating facts, the same way someone might state the time or the weather. He wasn't trying to hurt her. I agree to your terms, Your Majesty, Claire said clearly. They're more than generous. You do me a great honor. The advisor stared. Her father's expression twisted with fury. And Elion. Elion looked utterly perplexed. The confusion made him seem younger somehow. An honor, he repeated slowly. To be married to someone who wants nothing to do with you? Who will never care for you? Claire met his gaze through her veil, unwavering. Yes, Your Highness, she said. It's more than I deserve. More than my family has ever given me, she thought. More than I ever dared hope for. Safety. Protection. A life where no one would look at her with hatred or disgust. A husband who would never raise his hand to her. A husband who simply wanted nothing. That was better than cruelty. That was mercy. Very well. Elion pushed the contract across the table toward her. Sign here. Claire signed. Her father signed as witness, his hand shaking with barely suppressed rage. The advisor signed, both of them sneaking glances at their king as if trying to understand what he was thinking. And then it was done. She was going to be queen. To him. This beautiful, cold, mysterious man who the entire court seemed to know. He seemed to regard with a mixture of fear and reverence. Exiting the council chamber felt like walking through a gauntlet. The corridors were full of courtiers and servants, all of them stopping to stare as she passed. Whispers followed in her wake. Is that her? Why does she hide her face? But His Majesty could have anyone. Why her? Claire kept her head down, her hands clasped together, trying to ignore the burning curiosity in their eyes. Just 3 more days. 3 more days and she'd be married. She was almost to the staircase leading to her rooms when someone stepped into her path. Her sister Celia, dressed in a gown of pale blue and more beautiful than ever. We need to talk, she said quietly against her better judgment. Claire nodded. They found an empty alcove off the main corridor, a small space with a window overlooking the gardens. You can still refuse him, Celia said. Finally, and why would I? Claire said. You'd risk the king's anger when he discovers what you are. Claire's hands clenched beneath her veil. He won't discover anything. He's agreed never to look at me. You really think he'll never demand to see his now wife? Her sister's voice rose despite herself. He's the Alpha King. Claire, women throw themselves at him eventually. Her sister continued. Hell insist, and when he sees what's under that veil, ill explain. Claire whispered. Her sister's expression hardened. Explain what? Your face says it all. You don't deserve to be queen, not after what you did. Claire took a step back. Celia, I told you it wasn't me. She attempted. Liar. Her sister's voice broke. You couldn't stand that Eric was leaving you, and so you. Tears burned behind Claire's eyes. I don't know what happened that night, she interrupted. I was angry, yes, but I would never hurt him. The king seems kind to you now, her sister hissed. But When he heard her voice, she said, "I'm not going to let you go. But when he discovers the truth, he'll destroy you, Claire." Then she was gone. Chapter 4. The carriage rocked gently as it made its way through the crowded streets toward the cathedral. Claire sat rigid on the velvet seat, her hands clasped so tightly in her lap. Outside there were people, common folks and nobles alike, thousands of them packed into every available space. Along the route they were waiting to see their new queen. Her ride slowed, then stopped. She braced herself as a footman opened the carriage door and offered his hand. Claire took it, stepping down onto smooth stone. The crowd's noise intensified. Her veil is so thick, someone said. I can't make out her features at all. We will see her once she exits the cathedral. A woman concluded. Claire's stomach twisted. They're about to be disappointed, she thought. One step she protagonized the time she lost her son, and it was boiled to death with her braiding a. Then another. The cathedral entrance loomed before her, and she walked toward it alone. No father to give her away. The moment she crossed the threshold, the noise outside faded to a muffled hum. The pews were packed with nobility in their finest clothes, silks and velvets, jewels glittering in the candlelight. Every single face turned toward her, whispers rustling through the crowd. What does she look like? Perhaps she's hideously scarred. Claire's fingers tightened around the bouquet, but she kept her gaze fixed straight ahead, where the altar waited. Where he waited, Elion stood perfectly still. He wore black, of course he did. Formal clothing that emphasized the breadth of his shoulders. And even from this distance, Claire could see the sharp lines of his features, the cold beauty that made him look like a man, something carved from ice. He was watching her approach, but his expression revealed nothing. Just that same blank, perfect control he always showed. And as she approached, she noted his scent didn't betray anything either. How does he do that? She wondered. Most wolves couldn't control their scent so completely. Emotion always bled through. The priest began the ceremony, his voice echoing through the vast space. Claire barely heard the words. Claire of Elion standing beside her, radiating that strange coldness that shouldn't exist in a shifter's body. Alphas ran hot, everyone knew that, but Elion felt like winter itself. The vows the priest intoned. Claire snapped back to attention. Do you, Elion, Alpha King of Artoria, take this woman to be your wife? Your queen? Your mate? Elion's voice was steady, emotionless. I do. Then he turned to her, and Claire felt the weight of her body. The weight of his gaze even through the layers of fabric covering her face. I will never love you, he said, leaning closer. Please understand that. Claire nodded. I understand, Your Majesty, she said. Do you? Doubt flickered behind his eyes. Guilt also. Truly? He insisted. Yes. And she did. Whatever reason he had for this strange marriage, she understood that love was not part of the bargain. She could live with that. The priest was looking at them expectantly, confused by the delay. Elion straightened, returning his attention to the ceremony. The rings, he called out. The moment his fingers closed around hers, she gasped. He was cold, not just cool, but genuinely cold, as if he'd been standing outside in winter. Without gloves, Claire couldn't help staring at their joined hands. His palm was larger than hers, his fingers elegant and strong, but the temperature. How is this possible? She wondered. Your finger, he prompted gently. She fumbled, pulling off her glove. With shaking hands, Elion slid the ring onto her finger with practiced ease, his touch remaining cold throughout by the power vested in me. The priest said, and before these witnesses I now pronounce you husband and wife. Alpha and queen mates bound by sacred vow the claiming they needed to claim each other verbally, since the physical claiming biting marking would require her to reveal her neck, her skin, things she couldn't do here. I claim you as mine, Elion said, his voice carrying through the cathedral. My wife, my queen, my mate. Claire's wolf stirred restlessly inside her, but she felt no snap of a mate bond, no overwhelming polar certainty that would come later. She knew in private when they completed the physical claiming. I claim you as mine, she echoed. My husband, my king, my mate. The priest smiled. You may kiss your bride, your majesty. The cathedral went utterly silent, waiting to see what would happen. Would he lift the veil? Would they finally see the mysterious queen's face? Claire's heart hammered against her ribs. Your majesty, she whispered, will you not look at me? Elion tilted his head slightly, studying her veiled face. Do you want me to look at you? He asked quietly. No, Claire breathed, but you should. She could see his eyes now through the sheer fabric closest to her face. Gray eyes like winter storms. You've made your wishes clear, Elion said, and I will honor them. Before she could respond, he took her hand, that same cold grip, and lifted it to his lips. The kiss was gentle, formal. His lips were as cold as his hands, pressing against her gloved knuckles. For just a moment it wasn't what anyone expected, the crowd murmured in confusion and disappointment. But Claire stood frozen, her hands still tingling from that brief contact. He kissed my hand instead, she thought dazedly. He could have demanded to see my face, but he respected my wish. Thank you, she whispered. Outside, the crowd's roar hit them like a physical force. The noise was deafening, thousands of voices all talking at once, expressing their shock and confusion. The queen was still veiled. Something must be terribly wrong, the crowd murmured, and yet the king didn't seem to care. How strange, how utterly, completely strange. Chapter 5. Claire sat on the edge of the bed, hands folded in her lap, trying to control her breathing. The blind maids had prepared her. They'd bathed her in rose-scented water, brushed her hair until it was dry, and then she'd be able to breathe. Claire sat on the edge of the bed, hands folded in soft waves down her back, and dressed her in a nightgown. Then they'd left her alone in the candlelit chamber to wait for her husband, for the consummation of their marriage. It had been just words on a contract before. You will give me an heir. Easy to agree to when it was theoretical, but now it was real. Now it was happening tonight. 3 soft knocks at the door made her jump. Come in, she managed. Elion stepped inside, and Claire's breath caught. Head changed from his formal wedding clothes. The elaborate jacket was gone, leaving him in just a white shirt. Unlaced at the throat, the fabric loose enough to reveal the strong column of his neck. His hair was disheveled, as if he'd run his hands through it, and in the soft candlelight, he looked like a man, not a king. Beautiful and somehow vulnerable in his simplicity. He closed the door behind him with a soft click that seemed to echo in the quiet room. They were alone now, and Claire's heart hammered as Elion's gaze swept the room before settling on her veiled face. Even across the distance, she felt the weight of that look, and panic flared. I will wear this, Elion said quietly. He reached into his pocket and withdrew a strip of black silk. A blindfold. If you're worried, I might see you, even accidentally. The thoughtfulness of it made her throat tight. All right, Claire said softly. Turn around. Claire's hands shook as she reached up to tie the blindfold. She had to step closer. Had to rise on her toes to reach Up close, she could see everything the distance had hidden. The individual dark lashes resting against his cheeks, a small scar at the corner of his mouth. She secured the blindfold, her fingers lingering perhaps a moment too long against his skin. The last candle went out. Complete darkness fell over the room like a blanket. Her heart hammered so loudly she was certain he could hear it. She could hear his breathing, steady and controlled. But she could also feel something else, a subtle shift in his scent, the winter sharpness giving way to something warmer beneath. She heard him move closer, felt the temperature drop as his body neared hers. "I can smell your nervousness," he said quietly. His words made her more nervous. Of course he could smell it, the anxiety, the anticipation. His hands rose slowly in the darkness, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't move, his palms settled gently on her shoulders. His hands were large and cool. Against her bare skin, his palms spanning from the curve of her shoulders toward her collarbones. But it wasn't just the touch. It was the care in it. The gentleness. For a long moment, he simply held her like that. His thumbs began to trace small, soothing circles against her skin, and Claire felt herself relax into the touch. He's being kind, she thought, even though he was not. She was being kind, she thought, even though he was not. Slowly, Elion's fingers slipped beneath the thin straps of her nightgown. He paused, a question in the stillness. Claire made a soft sound of assent. He slid the straps down with aching slowness. First one shoulder, his fingertips trailing lightly against her skin. Then the other, the same careful gentleness. The silk clung to her breasts for a moment before whispering down her body, pooling around her feet with a soft sigh. Elion's hands were as if they were going to break. Elion's hands remained on her shoulders, neither moving nor retreating. Just holding, anchoring. His scent was changing, growing richer, deeper. Something warm and masculine. That made her wolf stir with interest. Claire reached for him with trembling hands, finding the edge of his shirt. Her fingers fumbled with the remaining buttons, clumsy with nervousness and anticipation. His skin was cool and smooth, stretched over solid muscle that shifted beneath her palms. Elion's hands were as if they were going to break. Elion's hands were as if they were going to break. Elion's hands were as if they were going to break. Elion's internal. Mapping what she couldn't see. The breadth of his shoulders, the firm planes of his chest. When her hand settled over his heart, she felt it beating, fast and strong, faster than his controlled demeanor suggested. She grew bolder, her fingers tracing the ridges of his stomach, the dip of his waist. His muscles tensed beneath her touch, and she heard his breathing change, becoming more ragged. When she reached his waistband, she hesitated, her fingers resting at the edge. "May I?" she whispered. "You may do whatever you like," he replied. The way he said it, rough and low, made her heart skip. She pushed the fabric down with fumbling hands, revealing more bare skin. Elion caught her hand gently, stilling her exploration. He lifted her fingers to his mouth and kissed them one by one, his lips cold and soft against her skin. His hand came up to cup her face. His palm was cool against her flushed cheek, as his thumb brushed over her lower lip. Then his fingers moved to trace her cheekbone, exploring. She felt him pause, his scent shifting, confusion bleeding through. "What is it?" Claire asked nervously. "Nothing. I just thought," he trailed off, his fingers continuing their exploration of her face. When they moved higher, toward her forehead, panic flared. He was picturing her features through touch. Claire caught his wrist, stopping him. Instead of speaking, she guided his hand downward, pressing his palm against her collarbone, just above her breasts. Elion went completely still. Slowly, giving her every chance to stop him. His fingers began to move, tracing along her collarbone with feather-light touches that made her shiver. Then lower. The sensation was... He had no words for it. His hand was cool against her heated skin, and the contrast sent sparks of something unfamiliar racing through her. A small sound escaped her, surprise and pleasure mixed. She felt Elion's answering reaction. A slight tremor in his hand, a hitch in his breathing, his scent deepening into something rich and heady. His other hand found her waist, then both hands began to explore with increasing confidence.